Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, classmates. I'm Kurt Russell Pabustan, one of your discussants for tonight. Mr. Morales already discussed the meaning of fun poetry and riddles, as well as some examples of riddles. And now, I will be discussing limericks and haikus. A limerick is a five-line poem that consists a single stanza, an AABBA rhyme scheme, and whose subject is a short, pithy tale or description. Most limericks are comedic, some are downright crude, and nearly all are trivial in nature. A limerick is a humorous poem consisting of 5 lines. The first, second, and fifth lines must have the 7 to 10 syllables while rhyming and having the same verbal rhythm. The third and the fourth lines should only have 5 to 7 syllables. They too must rhyme with each other and have the same rhythm. The etymology of the word limerick has inspired some debate. Historians agree it is a reference to the Irish city and county of Limerick, but the poems trace back to England, not Ireland. As such, many believe that the word refers to an old tune, Won't You Come to Limerick, that features the same meter and rhyme scheme. How is a limerick used in poetry? Limericks follow a very strict composition structure. All traditional limericks consist of a single stanza, exactly 5 lines, employ one rhyme on the first, second, and fifth lines, and employ a second rhyme on the third and the fourth lines. Due to their short and simple structure, limericks are popular form among amateur poets. Among established professionals, Edward Lear owns particular fame as a composer of limericks. Born in England in 1812, Lear became associated with the genre term literary nonsense and is widely considered the father of limerick. Embracing the characterization, he published a volume of limericks entitled A Book of Nonsense in 1846. The book contained 117 limericks, most of them intentionally silly. Among the most famous of these is the opening poem from A Book of Nonsense. There was an old man with a beard, who said, "It is just as I feared. 2 owls and a hen, 4 larks and a wren, have all built their nests in my beard." As you can see, the first, second, and the fifth lines have 8 syllables and have the same verbal rhyme. Talking about the rhyming pattern, the longer A lines rhyme with each other, which are beard, feared, and beard. And the shorter B line also rhyme with each other, which are hen and wren. One of Lear's funnier attempts is the limerick number 91. There was a young lady of Russia who screamed so that no one could hush her. Her screams were extreme. No one heard such a scream as was screamed by that lady of Russia. The AABBA rhyme scheme of this poem is evident, to the point that Lear uses the same word to conclude line 1 and line 5, which was a favored technique. The subject matter is trivial, an attribute that Lear appears to intentionally mine for material, as evident by his dogged repetition of the word scream. The next one is the haiku. A haiku is traditionally a Japanese poem consisting of 3 short lines that do not rhyme, and 17 syllables arranged in 3 lines of 5, 7, and 5 syllables respectively. The haiku first emerged in Japanese literature during the 17th century as a terse reaction to elaborate poetic traditions, though it did not become known by the name haiku until the 19th century. Haiku is considered to be more than a type of poem. It is a way of looking at the physical world and seeing something deeper, like the very nature of existence. It should leave the reader with a strong feeling or impression. In Japanese, there are 5 moras in the first and the third line, and 7 in the second, following the standard 5-7-5 structure of haiku. A mora is a sound unit much like a syllable, but it is not identical to it. This rhythm is often lost in translation, as not every English word has the same number of syllables, or moras as its Japanese counterpart. For example, The word haiku has 2 syllables in English, and in Japanese, it has 3 moras. Haiku. Another is the word table. Table has 2 syllables in English, while in Japanese, it has 4 moras. Teiburu. Today, the term haiku is used to describe all poems that use the 3-line, 17-syllable structure, even the earlier hokku. For example, bucket list dreaming. All the mountains I will climb, and things I will see. These are some examples of traditional and modern haikus. With the former of the two, the 5-7-5 rhythm can get lost in translation, but you can still able to get inspired by their beauty. An old silent pond. A frog jumps into the pond. Splash. Silence again. Another is, in the twilight rain, this brilliant-hued hibiscus, a lovely sunset. Both haikus are from Matsuo Basho, considered as the greatest master poet of haikus. The next haiku is from Arakida Moritake, translated by Stephen D. Carter. A fallen blossom, returning to the bough, I thought, but no, a butterfly. You might be confused that this example did not appear to be a standard 5-7-5 rhythm of haiku. It is because it is written in Nihongo and translated in English. That is why I mentioned a while ago that rhythm and syllable can be lost in translation. Now let's proceed to the traditional haiku elements. If you'd like to write a more traditional Japanese haiku, then here are some of the structured elements to be aware of. The first one is kireji, or the cutting word. Cutting words technically have no meaning or definition. They act more like a punctuation, except they are spoken words instead of symbols. You can think of a cutting word as a comma, an indication to pause. Next is kigo. Kigo is a word or phrase that symbolizes one of the 4 seasons. And the last one is the sensory images. Traditional haiku are about sensory images and not ideas. They use the 5 senses: sound, sight, taste, touch, and smell. And that concludes my report. Thank you for listening.